2 minutes to go.
Yeah. Sami, switch off the music. Samir, switch off the music. Don, please start. Don.
Meeting call to order. Toastmasters, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Welcome to the Club Growth Series 7, How to Sell the Value of Toastmasters in Pandemic. For the smooth proceedings of the program, I request all of you to keep the noise-making gadgets in silent mode or switch off mode. Keep the mic and video off during the entire session unless you have asked not to do so. Respecting the plurals, I request all of you, the role players and the speakers, to avoid talking on taboo topics such as politics, sex, and religion. Only the respective role players' mic and video will be turned on during the entire session. Should you wish to communicate to the speaker, admin, or the host, please use the chat box and all the questions shall be addressed. I request the audience to maintain the online meeting decorum during the session. However, encourage the speaker with ample of applause as and when needed using the reaction button. Ladies and gentlemen, today, the 2020 has been a milestone year. It was a reality check for everyone. It has awakened the need to evaluate challenges. It has forced individuals to be creative and modify old strategies. And finally, it has pushed us to innovate and adapt to current realities. What applies to life applies to Toastmasters as well. One of the biggest challenges during this pandemic has been attracting new members to the virtual platform and growing the fraternity. Join us to listen to distinguished Toastmaster Aletta Rosette, the International Director of Region 11, will share tips on how to sell the value of Toastmasters in a pandemic. This enlightening session will help us plan effectively on achieving the district mission of International Toastmasters, which is to build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving the excellence, while reinforcing the fact that the pandemic might make us go back to the drawing board to change how we achieve our mission. But the mission itself remains strong, steadfast, and unchallenged, that the way it should be. Let us take the lesson from 2020 and apply them to make 2021 a successful year. Now, to take the proceedings further and moderator the session, we have a dynamic lady, Master of Ceremonies for the evening. She is a business development executive, art of selling specialist, and marketing manager, improve artist, content creator, fitness expert, and many more accolades she carries. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our fantastico Master of Ceremony, distinguished Toastmaster, Naina Shaiju. Over to you, ma'am.
Blush, blush, blush. Thank you so much, Dawn. That was such a wonderful introduction with such an aplomb, I must say. And thank you so much, because indeed we are having a fantabulous session today. Good evening, one and all, for this beautiful session. And I welcome all our benevolent leaders on this session today. Let me first congratulate our CJD team and DTM Rania for completing this series, which is continuously in progress and going, and expectation is raising higher and higher day by day. So let's educate, inform, and inspire. Thank you so much, Rania, for giving me this opportunity. But before I introduce our guest today, I have a short story. For most of our guests or Toastmaster members, it would be a repeat. But the story is very deep in my heart, and I'm sure you'll take this home in anything and everything you do. Of course, the story is about the bamboo tree. Everyone knows the story of bamboo tree, but let me just remind. In short, the bamboo tree, when we plant a bamboo tree, it takes 3 to 4 years, and you don't see any growth. After 3 to 4 years, that's when the bamboo shoot shoots up 7 to 8 inches high on one fine day. So you may ask, how is bamboo tree related to Toastmasters? So that is how it is, my friend. For 3 to 4 years, that is what the commitment you need to give. And then after that, you'll see yourself suddenly in a place presenting and introducing some honorable guests from international level. So once again, thank you for believing and giving me this trust to introduce our guest. Going forward, the guest I'm introducing today, she is certified in world-class speaking, and she's a coach. She's also an interview coach. She teaches how to breathe life into their presentation and make their message crystal clear. She teaches her clients how to be noticed, remembered, and hired. She's the author for Speak, Connect, Succeed. Build your reputation as you speak, as well as the Wedding Speaker's Guide. She's already been an international director for Toastmaster International. She's a distinguished Toastmaster. She's spoken and trained in 21 countries. Her clients range from corporations wishing to improve their presentation skills. She has clients as CEOs wanting to pursue their speeches. She's a TEDx speaker. She's coached TEDx speakers and executives launching their new products and professors speaking in international conventions. She is from Cape Town, and she is very, very close to UAE as a region. Let us all use the reaction button, and let's welcome DTM Alita Rochette. Good evening, and over to you.
Good evening, DTM Nayana. Thank you so much for that brilliant introduction. And hello to everyone from District 105. I feel like you're the family that I don't see very often. I wish I could see you more. But I've grown to know your leaders over a number of years. And one thing I do know is District 105 has a proud tradition of talent, of commitment, and of, I think, innovation, if I can put it that way. So I know you're in good hands. It doesn't surprise me that you've got a club growth series. It doesn't surprise me that you're always one of our top regions in Region 11 and in the world. But today, I'm coming to talk about a topic that is very dear to my heart. We are all living a pandemic, which is probably, as my husband put it today, it's probably our version of a world war. We grew up and we didn't have world wars, certainly not where I lived. And this is as close as we've come to having something that affects all of us around the world in various ways. Speaking personally, 2020 was a tough year. I had plans just like you did. I had family members that I couldn't see. I've still got 2 children who are overseas and, I'm not quite sure when I'll see them again. And it's tough. So many things have changed. So in the midst of all that, where does Toastmasters fit in? The title of the session is How to Sell Toastmasters During a Pandemic. And you may think, well, why would we need to sell it? But by selling, I mean promoting it, sharing the value in a way that persuades others to join in. And I'm going to be asking a lot of questions tonight. So the idea of this session is that you engage with the topic and you're going to be keeping your fingers busy and using that chat feature to send responses. Because I can tell you my perspective, but I also need to hear yours as we go through the various questions that affect our ability to sell in a pandemic. And I've asked CGD Rania to keep an eye on that chat box. And every now and again, I'm going to ask her to give me a summary of everybody's contributions, and also to let us know perhaps if there's something happening in the district that's already in place that addresses some of those issues. So that's the plan for today. There's going to be lots of interaction, lots of question and answer, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you bring up. So now I always say, may the technology fairies or gods help me so that when I share my screen, it does what I ask it to do. So here goes. All right, I'm hoping you can all see my screen. If that's not the case, please let me know.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, so let's get going. I want us to start with before the pandemic. I want you to reflect on why you joined and why you stayed. I want you to reflect on how you've benefited and on what's become available to you as a result of being a Toastmaster. So let me share my personal experience. I joke that I joined Toastmasters not to become a better leader or a better speaker. I joined to run away from my kids. I was a mother, had 3 beautiful children, and I wanted something that could feed my soul, something that had nothing to do with raising children. And I'd always heard about Toastmasters. I'd always liked public speaking, but I'd never met anyone who was a Toastmaster. So one day I did a Google search and 2 clubs came up. Later on, I found there were lots more clubs, but in that initial search, only 2 came up. And I went to the meeting of the one that was closest to me, a club called Cape Town Toastmasters. I have to be honest, when I walked in that meeting venue, I wasn't made particularly welcome. I paid my money and I waited for the meeting to start. Nobody came up to chat to me. And if I'd been slightly less confident, perhaps I would have turned away and gone home again. But I didn't, I stayed. And I was so glad I did, because what I saw on display that day in that meeting made me realize in a moment that I wanted to stay there and learn, because the people there were so good. They were so articulate. I just knew that I wanted to be as good as they were. And I knew right there from that very first meeting that I would join. I've been a member for just over 12 years. So the question is, why do I stay? Because I'm still learning. At my club meeting, in that very same room when we were meeting in person, I still get challenged. I still get feedback that helps me improve. I'm still able to help other people improve by giving evaluations or being a role player in the meeting. So I'm still getting value 12 years later. On the leadership side, I discovered that as soon as I put my hand up to volunteer for a role, not one that I necessarily knew how to do, but one that I was willing to learn and to take on, every time I did that, not only did I grow, but more opportunities came my way. And as a result of raising my hand again and again and again, I've had so many opportunities to start my own business, to publish books. None of that would have happened if I wasn't a Toastmaster. I've had opportunities to train all over the world. And now I have the opportunity to serve you as your international director. I didn't know that any of that would happen when I joined, but that all came about as I stayed. So I hope by now you've put in quite a few comments into the chat feature to share with us why you joined, why you stayed, and how you have benefited. CGD Rania, have you got some that you could share with us?
I'm still waiting for comments.
Okay.
I think they're mesmerized by your story, so they're paying attention.
Don't be shy. We love to hear why people joined and why they stayed. In the meantime, I think what I'll do is I'll share with you some of the stories I've seen that also motivate me to stay. About the same time I joined, there was a tall, very tall young man. His name was Emil. And he joined about the same time, but he had a chronic problem with stuttering. And it was so bad that instead of his CC1, or as we now call it, the icebreaker, instead of speaking for 4 to 6 minutes, it took him an agonizing 16 minutes to deliver that speech. That's how badly he stuttered. But his club supported him. And he kept on coming back to do the next assignment and to keep trying and keep working on it. Before long, he started taking on roles in the club. And a year or two later, he was club president. And he was area director. And then he became a division director. And I'll never forget the day I saw him at a division club officer training event, standing up in front of about 60 people, entertaining us, informing us, and he hardly stuttered at all. And that man, Emil, is one of the reasons I've stayed a Toastmaster. Another example is a member of our club, a lovely young man. His name was Tom. And he asked me to be his mentor. And he shared with me that he had turned down promotions at work because the promotion would have involved him making a presentation. And he was just too scared to do that. And we worked together, and he did a number of speeches. And at every meeting, almost without fail, he would get the Best Speaker Award. And he was so amazed. But he just had to overcome his fear and have the right kind of encouragement. And he could get over it and just be this wonderful speaker. But the day I remember most fondly is when we had a new member in our club. And I said to the new member, we're very big on mentorship at this club. Is there anybody that you would like to ask to be your mentor? And she says, I would like Tom to be my mentor. And when I phoned him and I told him that one of the new members wanted him to mentor them, he was so amazed. He couldn't believe it. And that is another reason why I stay, to see not only my own growth, but the growth in people around me, people who've had things that have kept them back from achieving. And through our system, our teaching and our support, have enabled them to take the next step. So those are just two of the many stories. I'm sure many of you can share similar stories.
Yes, they're pouring in. Shall I share some?
Please do.
One of the comments, they joined to improve the listening skills. Another person to meet interesting people and expand the network as they move to a new city. Another person, one member, she went through a lot of trauma and lost her self-confidence and wanted to focus on something else, thoughts that would help her to move on and get over depression. Another member joined for leaders, to basically be part of leaders who basically give her motivation in every single moment. And basically, these are the most highlights of the comments. Also, improvement on professional skill as part of their, professional, how can I say,
skill
promotion
set.
work and so on. So basically.
Yeah. And all those things that I'm hearing, those are all life-changing things. If I have to sum up my Toastmasters experience in one word, it is that it has enriched my life in ways I could never have imagined. And that's what keeps me coming back. So when I listen to all these stories, and I've got plenty of my own, that was before the pandemic. So now we have to ask ourselves, what is true during the pandemic? So what has changed in the pandemic? So I've got a few things that I'd like to share with you. The first is that our priorities have changed. Suddenly being safe and healthy is number one priority. And when you speak to someone on the phone, the first thing you ask them is, I hope that you and your family are safe and well. That has become the primary thing that we care about the most. For many of us, our income has changed. We've lost income, and many people have lost their jobs. And that's just a reality. And it's a tough, harsh reality. And as a result of changing income levels, choices that we have available to us have changed. There's very little sense of predictability. I kind of laugh to myself when I try and make plans for 6 months from now, because there's so much we don't know. So I think all of us have become expert at trying to plan ahead, but knowing that we'd have to change at the last minute if need be. So much has shifted, and our priorities, our income and our predictability are some of the things that have shifted. Other things that have shifted, I've noticed an increasing level of competition. If you are looking for a job now, there are so many more people just as skilled and passionate and talented and experienced as you are, all applying for the same job. Companies, I think, are now more competitive. And if you're in the online space, you better be good at it, because there are plenty others also in that online space. Our way of working has changed. Many of us are working from home. Yesterday, I had to do a full day workshop that I delivered in person last year, and I had to convert to an online format this year. And it took quite a lot of adaptation. And, you know, it took a lot of work and effort, but we made it work and it was successful. But it takes energy and effort and experimentation and innovation. We've found new ways to work, but maybe it meets all your needs, maybe it doesn't. So there's been a learning curve every step of the way. And the options available to us keep changing. Depending on where you and I live, we've got different lockdown restrictions, different quarantine restrictions. There's just so much that is fluid. So I'd like to hear from you. What has changed for you in this pandemic? What things come to mind when I ask the question, what changed in the pandemic? What are the issues that you've been dealing with? So Rania, I hope they're flooding in. I hope those fingers are warm.
I'm still waiting.
Okay, let's hear District 105. What's changed with the pandemic for you?
Time management, perspective.
Yeah.
No.
For me, one of the things I've had to develop is an ability to sit in my chair for long periods of time on Zoom meetings.
Zoom fatigue as well.
Zoom fatigue, yeah.
How to live our lives with less salaries.
Yeah.
Zoom online back pains. How to keep ourselves healthy.
Yeah. And shopping is now something I do very seldom. I try to go out of home, away from home as little as possible. So my social circle has changed. I don't see friends as often. And if I do see them, it's mostly virtual.
More skills to learn as a necessity of the situation.
Okay.
One of them says they're not able to cope with the number of activities going on around on Zoom. So they don't know whether they hate Zoom because they're living with it at work and outside to network with people as well. So it's, again, Zoom fatigue.
Absolutely. I can relate to that. And you're so happy you can connect with Zoom, but then you think, oh my goodness, another Zoom meeting. And it is tiring. I find it far more tiring than being in person.
Absolutely.
And people have to study virtually now. My son's been at university this year, and well, I have to say he got the best marks he's ever gotten. And he said, well, it's amazing what happens when you can't leave your room. But it's not easy. It's not what we would have wished for ourselves. Good. So the next question is, we've now said what happened before the pandemic, and now we've looked at what changed with the pandemic. The next question is, what didn't change with the pandemic? And what comes to mind for me is our need for connection with others hasn't changed. I don't know about you, but I long to be with, big groups of family and friends like we always used to be able to do whenever we wanted to. The need for connection in terms of people caring for us, people inquiring after our well-being, not only health-wise, but if I know my nephew runs a restaurant, and I remember phoning him and saying, I'm very mindful that this lockdown has a huge impact on your restaurant. How are you coping? So our need for connection and the way we do it has not changed. In some ways, especially in the early days of lockdown, where we were more isolated, I think that need for connection became even more urgent. So we are people who are wired to be with other people, and that hasn't changed. The need for us to focus on results hasn't changed. And that could be results in terms of your income, the money coming in that you have available to spend. It can be the results of staying healthy. It can be the results of achieving at work. It can be the results of needing to plan your life and to make contingency plans. We are always going to be results focused because those results bring opportunities to us or enable us to do new things. And also the focus on skills. More than ever, we have to stay on top of skills. So we've all had to do the Zoom learning curve. But as we all know, just being able to click and join a meeting is not all Zoom is about. You still have to be able to engage and persuade and connect online, just as you had to do in person. And you have to be able to do that in a way that seems authentic to you, that seems fresh, that gets the job done. It's no use just having a Zoom meeting and not getting the work done. So we've had to focus on whatever we've needed to do to upskill ourselves, to get our jobs done, to work remotely, to engage remotely, to get new customers remotely, all of that. Those things haven't changed. There are probably many others that haven't changed. When I look at the need for connection, I really think family and friends have become very important during this time. And just caring for one another, I think, has been the one thing good thing that's come out of this pandemic, that we, I think, show more caring and concern for others because we know everybody's dealing with challenges. So the next question is what we offer in Toastmasters still relevant? Given that we're in a pandemic, given that so much has changed, and yet remembering that some things haven't changed, what do you think? Do you think that what we offer is still relevant? Do you think that it's still relevant to tell people that they can become better speakers and leaders by participating in our program? Is it still relevant to tell them that as they engage in our program, they'll grow in self-confidence and they'll take that confidence from the meeting, whether it's virtual or in person, back to their homes, their families, their communities, their careers? Is that still relevant, or has it become irrelevant during a pandemic? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Rania, have you got something?
Now, all confirmations, it's the best time to learn a new skill. because it's easy to connect to more people. Yes, definitely, as learning never stops due to impediments arising in any form. Let's see what others say. Yes, however, the platform only change. It's practically adapting to the changing environment and demand. More, yes, it's relevant. So far, all are 4. Toastmasters is very much relevant to all professional settings and meetings that happen online, and the learning in Toastmasters helps us to ensure we are able to deliver to a certain standard. That's one of the comments I got.
Okay, thank you. So I believe, as challenging as these times are, in some ways, I believe there's never been a better time to be a Toastmaster. Because the world is shifting so quickly, and because in Toastmasters we get to engage on those learning curves. I remember so clearly the first time we had to do online contests or online council meetings, the incredible learning curve that had to happen. And it was particularly the districts in the Middle East that I admired so much, because not only did they figure it out, and not only did they have sometimes a technical team of 7 people for one event, they took the time and trouble to invite other districts, not only from Region 11, but from all over the world, to come on educational calls to show them how to get that done. And that was a level of collaboration and caring and giving that I was very touched by. So I think as we've navigated all the challenges that have come our way, we have, as a collective human caring community, have risen to the challenge and have shared our knowledge for all of our benefits. And we've done that, and that's helped us. But it's still the question of growing our organization in a pandemic is still one that many of us find challenging. So the next question is, how do we sell Toastmasters now? And when I was considering this, a number of things came to my mind. With incredible empathy, with understanding, and with support. You cannot assume that because somebody was a member before the pandemic, that their world is still the same and that they can afford to pay their membership dues now. It may not be the case. So you have to have empathy and understanding for their changed circumstances and for their needs, because as we said earlier on, their priorities have shifted, and we have to respect the decisions they need to make based on their personal circumstances. But that doesn't mean that we cut them off. It doesn't mean that we forget about them. The support we can offer in a pandemic, I think, can be profound. And I was thinking today, non-members can't speak at our meetings, but there's no reason someone who hasn't been able to renew their dues could not be invited to attend your meeting. And that you could still kind of make them feel that they're part of this wonderful Toastmasters community and family. That is one small way you could offer them support, even if they can't pay the membership dues. Of course, there are many others who can pay the membership dues, and we encourage them to join, to accelerate their learning, to take this opportunity to take the next step on their journey, whatever that looks like for them. So we don't need to apologize for still having to charge membership dues. No organization can function without dues. But I think we just need to be mindful that sometimes people are dealing with challenges, and right now might not be the right time for them. But you can still offer them support and stay connected to them so that when the time comes and hopefully their circumstances change for the better, they could then be drawn in and be welcomed as part of our community. We need to be more member focused than ever before. I've often said that the definition of success during a pandemic is not the same definition of success that we had before. It is less about the numbers, and even though the numbers are vitally important to all of us, it is more about how we take care of one another and how we take care of our clubs, our members, everyone who's part of our family. And if the numbers get us to distinguish and better, we will be celebrating from the rooftops. But I know that whenever I ask someone, when did you serve as a district leader? And they say to me 2020 and 2021, I will immediately have so much respect for them because I know that they were a leader in one of the most difficult times to ever be a leader. And if your goals aren't met, your clubs, your district's goals aren't met, it doesn't mean that we failed. It means that we've kept going through a pandemic, and we will celebrate every small success we have. And if it leads to us being distinguished, as I say, we will be the first, but we will also celebrate every single effort, no matter how small, along the way. And that to me is more important than anything else right now. We need to be focused on the corporations. What I see happening is corporations, especially ones that have lost revenue and had to retrench people, they are under severe stress. They are in survival mode. They close down on expenditure because that's what they have to do to survive. They are also at that point very unlikely to take risks. So even something as simple as starting a Toastmasters club in that climate may appear to them to be a risk. And we have to be very understanding of that. And we have to keep connection with those corporations in the hope that when things get a little bit easier, they can restart their club or they can charter a new club. And it is a good time for that to happen. Apart from the incentives that Toastmasters has given us for new clubs to start, it's a good time for them to get their staff skilled up. I would much rather have my staff take risks in front of a Toastmasters club and amongst their colleagues than in front of customers. And in this very fiercely competitive world, any company that can have staff that can represent them confidently, that can communicate and persuade and just have a really good image on behalf of the company is going to help that company succeed. So I'm not saying don't go to the companies, but I'm saying listen to what they're saying to you and be very customer focused, company focused. I once saw a club being chartered for the right reasons and all the wrong reasons. It was getting close to the end of the year. The district involved was very focused on getting results. And there was a club at Amazon and everybody wanted the club to succeed. The corporation was keen to have it succeed. The demo meeting went off beautifully, but there was such a push from the district side to get it through by the 30th of June so that the district could achieve. And in the process, what happened was that the wrong information or inaccurate information was given to the person from the company. And they were told, just give us 20 names, we can always change them later. And of course, that wasn't true. And when that person who'd paid on his personal credit card to get the company going heard that the names couldn't simply be changed, he was so angry. You can understand it. And that club never got off the ground. That was a classic example of chartering for the wrong reasons and not being customer focused or corporation focused. We've got to do it for the right reasons at the right time, not because we're trying to tick a box or achieve a goal or achieve an accolade. So that's true for members and it's true for corporations as well. And remember that we are in partnership with our members and we're in partnership with companies. So we've got to demonstrate that we have a long-term caring relationship rather than a short-term push just to get a new member or to get a new club. So it's part of the respect with which we treat our members and corporations, which is so important. So I'd love to hear any thoughts you have on how you would sell the value of Toastmasters, either to a member or to a corporation, and how you would demonstrate that we are in a partnership. So I hope those fingers are warmed up and that you are sending plenty of messages to CGD Rania.
I have one comment here. It says to add to these, to other reasons, we have to mention that the need to be competitive and competent hasn't changed, and we still are still requirements for job hunting. That's for Mark.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you want that competitive edge, you know, one of the examples, because I work in the interview world, an example of a statistic that was done prior to COVID was that on average, when a company advertises a job, there are 250 applications. From those 250, at most, 6 people will get the interview. And of those 6, only 1 gets the job. Now you can imagine those statistics, since the pandemic has hit, is probably even far more dramatic than that. So having that competitive edge is vital. And often your competitive edge is expressed in the way you connect and engage. So 2 people with the same skill set, and the one is more engaging and articulate, that person has a better chance of being hired either, you know, for a job, or a new client would rather work with them than with the other company. So there's never been a better time to be a good communicator and a confident leader.
Some of the comments: Toastmasters is a personality development program which benefits the organization as well as the individual. We don't sell customers, so we are more member focused to understand the needs of the corporation. It's a platform to learn and practice personal growth and leadership skills. Some people are talking about Gavaliers as well. I mean, some parents are basically also encouraging their kids to join Toastmasters. So not only about corporate, so it's also, it's a lot of movement here as well. In the district, we have a lot of Gavalier clubs, and actually they're amazing. Sometimes they speak better than adults, and tabletop, they're so full of creativity. I should say that. Yeah, these are some of the comments that we got in the chat.
Fantastic. So let's take it one step further, and let's focus just on members. How do you sell value to members? If you had to speak to someone today or tomorrow and encourage them to join a club, what would you tell them is the benefit of doing so? One of the best ways to do this is to share your personal story, the why you joined. And you can use a simple technique like, before I joined, this is what I looked like. Now I can do this, and this is how I did it.
There's some of the answers as well. And some say also increasing their network of people. I mean, some people got job opportunities because of their connections through the membership with other members within the fraternity, not even in the district, also international. Yeah. Learning opportunities, explore your own values as well. That's nice.
Yeah.
Exploring your own potential as well, because some members, you know, don't know what the limits until they join Toastmasters, and they basically see that they can do a lot of things that they've not been imagined that they could do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I said that to someone yesterday. I was saying that, you know, as you grow in confidence, it's almost like what you see as a possibility for you has changed, because as you grow in confidence, you're seeing things that you couldn't see when you were slightly less confident. So more opportunities then come within your range, and you have the boldness and the confidence to reach out and try and take advantage of those opportunities. Any others, Rania?
Another comment: one's network defines your net worth.
Yes, absolutely. And it's the one place that I always feel is such a positive environment, a Toastmasters environment. And even if you're tired and you think, oh no, not another Zoom meeting, attend a Toastmasters meeting and you come back inspired. It's just always happens.
That's true. And another last comment: to reiterate the value of width and depth of our community now that we are in a virtual platform. Mm-hmm. And we are also surrounded by learners as well. That's
yes, like-minded, positive people, absolutely.
Yes.
So let's think about the next question. If you had to sell to a corporation and encourage a corporation to start or to restart a Toastmasters club, what would you say? I think the thing that comes to mind for me is, I would say it's almost like a learning laboratory in your corporation, where people can take risks, they can try new things, get feedback, and that learning they take straight back to their desks. And when they next engage with a client, they've got that learning, it's fresh. and they keep improving. One of the stories, when I first joined Toastmasters, the first club that I was asked to mentor was an investment company. And it was a very small company. I think they only had 100 employees, and they opened up the club to the entire organization. So everybody from the lady making the tea and coffee through to the senior executives who went out to clients were part of this meeting. And the lady who made the tea and coffee, her name was Rosa, and she joined. And it was wonderful to see her as a member. She used to come and tell the most wonderful stories of how she grew up. And of course, her upbringing was very different to many of the other people. So it was a good way for the staff to learn about one another and connect with one another. But my favorite memory of that club was the day that Rosa started doing evaluations. And she was doing speech evaluations for a man who had a degree and was going out presenting investments to clients. And she gave him valuable feedback. It was such a wonderful equalizer for us to realize that we each have an opinion, no matter what our education level, and we can each add value to one another. And that was probably a benefit that corporation didn't see right up front. But to me, it was part of the magic of what Toastmasters offers. Rania, have you got some comments?
Yes. One of the comments, it's one of the best training programs at minimal cost to enhance the staff performance for the greater benefit of the organization. Another comment, imagine an organization letting your staff learn 300 plus competencies through practical, cost-efficient meetings, which cost nothing. Corporates, in a word, where each department is at friction with the other. A Toastmaster Club provides a level playing field for all. Keep stressing this point to the management people.
Yeah.
Identify which one of the organization lacks or the needs or needs the most. It's a team building that they need. Speeches with personal stories, connecting members together, personal growth, and so on and so. Adding essence of life to the corporate arena.
Absolutely.
Nice comments.
And yesterday when I was doing a corporate workshop, it wasn't a Toastmasters one, but part of what I did was to get the people to share stories. And one of the comments was, my goodness, we've been working together for years, but we never heard one another's stories. And those stories that we share and we listen to, they also connect people across departments, across management levels. So it's a form of magic, I think, that adds value to any corporation. So to sum this all up, essentially, you cannot sell the benefit of Toastmasters unless you believe it yourself. And the starting point to promoting the value is to reflect on how you've grown as a result and how the people around you have grown. And once you can articulate that, then you can share that story with another member or with a corporation, but with understanding, with empathy, with support, especially during our pandemic times. But I know that we've got the capacity to grow, and each one of us is an ambassador for the organization. So when you feel deeply about it, share it with somebody else. Invite them to be a member, invite them to be part of this extraordinary community, a very caring community, a very positive community, and quite frankly, a community that the world needs more of. So if we've got more time, I'll take questions, but in the meantime, thank you for your contributions because you were a big part of this presentation. And thank you, Rania, for monitoring the chat and for reflecting back the contributions that came. That's all. My side at the moment.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. And actually, I've sent a survey a couple of days ago to the club's mostly VB memberships, and I got a lot of questions. So if you can tackle those. So one of the questions that we received is, what is the best marketing approach we can use during these challenging times?
I think it's pretty much what I said. It's selling the value. But you can't sell the value to you. You've got to determine what their value need is. What do they need help with? And how can what we do answer that need? So it's very much listening first, understanding what their pain points are, and showing them how what we offer can help them. So very targeted, member-focused or corporation-focused benefits.
The next question, previous club members are inactive or lost interest in Toastmasters. How to get them again? And mostly to start in pathways and participate in virtual platforms.
Yeah. Sometimes people need a lot of encouragement to come back. They might be concerned that they can't do it if it's online. They might be concerned that something has changed since they left. They might have forgotten how much fun it is. So I encourage you to make a fuss of them, have a special meeting, you know, welcome old timers, or, you know, a reunion meeting, whatever you come up with. But it might take a personal phone call to say, we miss you. Just come and be part of the meeting. Just come and have some fun with us, and make it lighthearted. And then afterwards ask them, wouldn't you like to join again? And if they say no, they say no. But if you don't ask, you won't know.
People do not still understand the value of marketing oneself. And let me read it because it's basically, especially during the pandemic, during more goals and failing to market what they already have. And many are not willing to come forward as guests, fearing that they will end up in more involvement if they do so. And guests make excuses like, I need more sessions, other commitments, maybe some of them are shy, and they don't have the courage to join. So how basically to approach such guests?
One of the most common objections we get is, I haven't got time. But if I had to ask all of you to raise your hand if you're busy, just about everybody would raise their hand. None of us are not busy. So under that comment of I haven't got enough time, there's often a fear. The fear is I won't be good enough. I'm scared of getting an evaluation. I don't want to fail. I want to do it really well. And all you can do is invite them. And if they don't come for one meeting, invite them back for another. Reassure them that there's no pressure on them to do something they're not ready to do. Remind them that there's a mentor to help them every step of the way. Because usually when someone's reluctant, there's something they are afraid of. I know I wasn't scared to speak the first time, but I was very uncomfortable and someone giving me a public evaluation. I'd never experienced that. And that was my point of concern, far more than speaking. So each one of us has got different levels of concern, but I think I always tell people it's a wonderfully nurturing, supportive environment. And as long as your club demonstrates that, then, and if they can see that in play with other people doing their first icebreaker or whatever it is, then they will be reassured that it's a safe space for them to come into as well.
Another comment here, I feel that the value has reduced as people nowadays take it lightly due to the online meetings. People don't have to make an effort to come to a venue. How to correct this mindset?
It's so interesting you mentioned that, because I've noticed in my club, I love the fact that I don't have to drive 20 minutes to get to in traffic. And yeah, so I'm loving the fact that I can be at home and just quickly join, and then I'm home immediately afterwards. But I have noticed that the dynamic in the club has shifted. And maybe it's just because it's easy now to say I'm too busy. It's easy now to say I can't connect. I think we have to re-examine our commitment, but that's where the community comes in. And when I get a WhatsApp message from our president or VPE saying, we still need speakers for this meeting, who's going to do it? We need you. Then that galvanizes all of us to take action. So we might have to reach out to people more. Never forget that everybody now is under more pressure they've ever been under for a sustained period of time. Often all of us are quite tired. So sometimes Toastmasters seems like an additional burden, and you've got to network that relationship and that support that you can offer that person to encourage them to keep going. So there's no magic answer there, but it's the caring that I think is the most important thing.
Another question here. Is it possible to share any tips to convert a guest to a member in a club?
The first thing to do is to ask them. You know, I've come across some people, a friend of mine put it like this. He says, a guest comes to your club. They have found you somehow. They have been convinced enough to attend your meeting and give up their precious time to see what you have on offer. and then they attend the meeting and no one asks them to join. Often people are just waiting to be asked. So just say, did you like what you saw? Can you see value in it? How does this relate to your needs? Would you like to become part of us? And I think we need to get more confident in asking and taking that next step instead of waiting for people to beat a path to our door to join. If they've come to the meeting, they've already signaled intent. So just follow up and help them take that next step.
Another question from one of the VIE memberships. My club is made of college students who don't have the motivation to do long sessions in the weekends. How do you make them understand the value and convert them to members? We have also in some of the college clubs as well.
Yeah, they've got many competing needs. For me, and I'm speaking, as I'm answering this, I'm thinking of my son who's now finishing university and is about to enter the job market. You need all the help you can get. You need all the elements that can make your CV stand out from somebody else's. You need all the confidence so that when you are lucky enough to get an interview, you can do yourself justice. And you're more likely to get opportunity if you are articulate. So it's part of building your future. So all you can do is map that out for them and hope that they see it as relevant enough to take action. But when it comes to looking for someone to hire, who would you rather hire? Someone who's articulate and has demonstrated a commitment to a club, or someone who's never done that and perhaps isn't as articulate? So it's a game changer, in my opinion.
Another comment, any tips for any activities that you can do to add fun apart from the regular meetings? Something that you've experienced yourself or witnessed?
There's something I've came across recently, you know, when it comes to choosing someone for table topics, you know, someone always has to volunteer. And I came across this free tool called wheelofnames.com. And on the wheel of names, you just load the names of the people in the meeting. Those, I wouldn't put your guests, I would put your members. And you click the button, it spins and it picks for you who's going next. And then that person's name gets removed. And it was just put a smile on everybody's face because suddenly it wasn't me saying, Rania, it's your turn. And you thinking, oh, why did she pick me? It's now the wheel of names that has picked me. So, and you can change the colors, you can change everything on it. So that was a fun tool that's free. And I used it with great effectiveness in my workshop. So I think that'll work at club level as well.
What is it called?
Wheelofnames.com.
Wheelofnames.com. Yeah. Jot that down, attendees. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
We are using for the draw of lots, Rania.
Oh, yes.
For the online contest.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can use it for prizes as well, but it works really well for table topics.
Now I know something new. Do you recommend recognition is given for those who bring new members to the club? It's a VV membership question.
I would definitely recognize anyone who brings anyone to the meeting. And there are many different ways of doing it. You don't have to, it could be a certificate. And when it was in-person meetings, I believed in the power of chocolate and, you know, rewarding people with chocolate. But whatever you think is appropriate, it could be a round of applause. It could be, you know, just anything. But yes, please recognize those that bring people to your meeting. Those people are worth gold.
A lot of people hesitate to talk about their experiences with Toastmasters and with others who are non-Toastmasters as well. How to break up from this mindset and speak about the organization in an empowering manner?
Okay. So if I went to, in the days that I could, if I went to a lovely restaurant, or I saw a nice movie, or I had a fun day out with my family, I wouldn't hesitate to share that with other people. So if you find someone that you think could benefit from being a Toastmaster, just tell them what it's changed for you. And just, it's the then, now, and how. Before I couldn't do this, now I can, and this is how. It's a very simple thing. Please don't become someone who sounds like they're trying to get someone to come into a cult. You know what I mean? Don't be so intense and, you know, go on and on about it. Just say to them, it's been absolutely amazing. I really recommend it. I'll send you a link for the next meeting. Why don't you join me at the next meeting? Keep it lighthearted, keep it sincere, but let them know. If you don't tell them, they won't know.
Is there a path and pathways that will help us in developing the skills of selling?
I'm sure they are, but I can't think of it right now. But I think they're often part of the electives are persuasive
influence. I think persuasive influence is one of those as well.
Yeah, anything that involves persuasion, in my mind, would be a good candidate for that.
Yeah, because some of the comments, we're not basically trained, even as officers, how to basically sell or how to promote. People are mostly shy, so they don't have this not aggressiveness, I would say, the guts basically to close the sale. This is what they're commenting here.
One of the things I come across quite often when I do interview coaching is people are reluctant to sell themselves in the interview because they think they're being arrogant or boastful and it just doesn't feel right to them. So the way I ask them to think about it is, what are you really good at that could add value to someone else? And it's a gift that you give the team you're working with, the company you're working with. If you are talented and committed and you can make things happen, that's a gift. So think about your sharing your gift rather than trying to sell something. And it's a gift to give someone else the opportunity to have the same development opportunities that you've had in Toastmasters. All you're doing is sharing an opportunity, you're sharing an invitation. You're not forcing anybody. So just tell them how it's benefited you and just say, I'd love to see you being able to get your next promotion or be able to deal confidently with clients. You know, that's a gift, it's an opportunity.
What has been your biggest learning while selling the value of Toastmasters?
I think is how much we have to offer. You know, I used to get irritated with the old legacy program when people used to say, well, we have 2 manuals. And I'd say, well, nobody joins to get 2 manuals. You know, people join to get the hope. If you tell me a story of how you've grown in confidence and how your career has benefited through being a Toastmaster, that's what I buy into. And my own experience is just that I thought I was joining to become a better speaker, but there was so much else on offer. The ability to work with volunteers, the ability to grow leadership skills in a team where you can't pick the people that you work with, the ability to work with diverse people from different cultures and backgrounds, the ability to persuade people, volunteers who don't get paid a cent for what they do, to buy into something that you're working on and to be part of that and contribute towards that. Those are skills that you don't get easily anywhere else, and they're so valuable. I really believe that I'm a better friend, I'm a better wife, I'm a better mother as a result of being a Toastmaster. I'm a more interesting person. I've got a bigger network of people to draw inspiration from. So while you're selling the value, don't just sell the fact that we've got so many paths that you can choose from. That's not what we're selling. We're selling the ability to be better at whatever it is that you do so that you can have a bigger impact in the world.
We have to change the language we're using. This is the thing, the wording, yes. What is the best-selling strategy you've observed during your term by a member or a club that has impressed you during the pandemic?
For me, when I look at the whole world and how we perform, and I look at Region 11, not that I'm biased in any way, but Region 11, which is Africa and the Middle East, we're one of the fastest growing regions in the world. We've been one of the top performers, even in a pandemic. And think about it, especially in the continent of Africa, it's not because life is easy in Africa that they've grown new clubs. And in the Middle East, it's not because life is easy that you're getting new members and clubs. But what we have developed over the years is a winning mindset and a commitment to a belief in what we sell and a belief in our own capabilities. And some of the other districts in some of the most sophisticated countries in the world do not have that same mindset. So I think we've been blessed as a region in the various countries and continents we live in, that we see possibility where others see problems. We see potential, we see opportunities for growth. And that, I think, is more powerful than anything else. We're all selling the same program. We haven't got somehow circumstances that make it easier for us. We've actually got pretty challenging circumstances. But yet we drive through, we've got the teamwork, the commitment, and we stretch ourselves. And that is why we are successful. So belief that we've got what it takes, I think, is so, so valuable.
How can we sell most effectively the value of Toastmasters to job seekers?
Well, just quote the statistics I quoted. It's so difficult to even get the interview. But if you get an interview, you've got to be able to, in that moment, be able to articulate your strengths, to convince them that you're a good fit for the job. And you do that by learning to think on the spot, to think analytically. I often think that the skills I've learned by learning how to evaluate have become so useful to me. So when I listen to someone asking me questions, I can analyze what are they looking for? What are they needing to hear from me? And I can compare what the questions are to the job description and think, well, how can I best answer so that I'm a good fit for that job description? Those are all skills we teach in every single meeting. The ability to do a table topic. In other words, think of your feet with no preparation. In an interview or when you're looking for a job, that is invaluable. So, and because it's, I'm a trainer, so I can go into a corporation, do training for a day, but that's not as valuable as practicing those skills every 2 weeks, month, however often your club meets. What we do in Toastmasters is embed learning so that it becomes permanent, so that you keep going up. It's not just a flash in the pan that you remember it one day, the next day it's gone. So we offer very valuable opportunities to embed learning and make progress.
During the pandemic period, when organizations are cutting costs, how can you speak to the person in charge, be it the CEO or the HR manager, to make an investment in their people implementing the Toastmasters program for the organization?
I would have a conversation with them and find out what their pain points are. What are the things that they know need to be improved? Often it'll be efficiencies, like meetings just aren't efficient or projects aren't getting managed on time. And companies look for things that have an impact on their bottom line. So if you can save them time, you can improve their efficiency, you can improve their ability to sign or retain customers. Those are all key skills and issues that companies deal with. In order to improve those, what are their options? They can get a consultant in to do it for them. They can get a trainer in to train the skills, but those are all expensive options, and they little dips or flashes in the pan. They're there for a few days, they're gone. Toastmasters is very low cost in comparison to either of those, and it has a prolonged effect of having that repeat training, that repeat opportunity to take risks, the repeat opportunity to get feedback and to improve. So compared to all the other options, if you're trying to save money, Toastmasters is the most cost-effective option you've got. Yes, it takes work. Yes, it takes commitment, but we do have people to support you. We do have teams that will come in and be mentors to your club and help you every step of the way. So if you're trying to save costs, I think we're a very, very strong option.
Another interesting question. What should any member who is in the leadership position to sell the value of Toastmasters to others? What's in it for them?
As I said right at the beginning, every time I've raised my hand and taken on something that, yes, I've had to learn to do it. It's not always been easy. I've had to create time in my day to do that. Every time I've done that, I've had opportunities coming my way. I've learned to become more efficient. I've learned skills that I never had before that now I use every single day. And I've learned leadership skills in terms of managing people and setting expectations and holding people accountable, none of which I would have had. So for me, if you're going to get value for money out of Toastmasters, if you're just speaking, you'll get a really good return on investment. If you're speaking and leading, you multiply that by 3 or 4 times. And to me, in the leadership side is where you maximize your return on investment for the dollars that you pay to be a member.
Should we focus on the members' experience before we focus on the guest experience, or should you do it simultaneously?
Well, I think guests will buy into members. One of the clubs in my district, I think it was Golden Gavel, they started a member moment at every meeting, a 1 to 2 minute slot where somebody who's a member simply stood up and said, this is why I joined, this is why I stayed, this is what I get out of it. And it could be anything. And that member moment, if you're clever, you capture those member moments and they become part of your social media. If that person gives you permission, it becomes part of the library of success stories that you sell. The member or the guest who's joining isn't joining because you can offer them, I don't know how many paths we've got now, 14, even more by now. They're not joining because they've got a library of paths. They're joining because they want to be like Rania. They want to be like somebody else who's just shared their story. They buy into the promise of the transformation. And that's what you need to showcase. And the more you showcase that, the more you share your own story of why you're there and why you stay, the more it's easy for the guest to kind of see themselves in that position, and they're more likely to buy.
Another question from one of the clubs. Our main challenge is that members are less engaged, and this is our biggest challenge. So we have a virtual room full of guests, and the number of guests is more than members. Mm-hmm. How can we tackle that?
Yeah, I think we've got to go back to basics, and we've got to have conversations with people and find out why they're not engaging. Is it the online format that they're still not comfortable with? Is it that they feel that if they don't show up, it doesn't matter? If they don't show up, is there anyone who follows up to say, we missed you? You know, we need you. Can you be an evaluator at our next meeting? Can you do a table topic at our next meeting? So the caring that we need to show our members, I think, needs to be reinforced, because it does feel a bit detached, where you just get a link to a meeting. There's nobody greeting you at the door. There's nobody giving you a hug. There's none of this in-person magic that we normally have. So I think we need to extend our caring beyond just saying, here's a meeting link, sign up for a role. We need to show that we care. Come on, you know, I'd love to hear you speak again. Why don't you do your next presentation? That kind of caring, I think we need.
How do you sell the value of Toastmasters to members who have joined a long time back, who know the program and who's benefited from it, but no longer found? Some just renew their membership and never show up. What can we do?
So there's a reason they still paying their membership. As you say, they really can see the value. It might be that the whole pathways thing is a bridge too far for them. And I often say that for people like that, we need to do some extreme hand-holding. In other words, we need to walk them through every step of the way. So you need to be able to say what you like about pathways and what choices you've made, and say, you know, we'd love to see you back. Let me show you how to choose your path. Let me show you how to do the quiz to find out which paths might be a good fit for you. And I had so much fun doing that one. Why don't you join me? So what will it take to bring them on board? And it's going to take, I think, again, it's the caring, the compassion, the empathy, but it's the help. Show them, because they might be embarrassed to say, well, I don't know where to start. But if you invite them and say, I'll show you, let's do it together, and arrange a Zoom call and show them, you know, on screen exactly what to do, that might help them.
Oh, this is another interesting question. Now, the organization has been around for 96 years. In your opinion, why do you think we haven't had an exponential growth, where we should have membership in millions, as it's cost-effective, inclusive, and beneficial?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I ask myself that question many times. I think part of it, we've got to each own up to the fact that we do not tell enough people about what we do. As I said, I had my whole life knowing about Toastmasters, but never meeting a member. Nobody in my social circle was a Toastmaster. But now that I'm a Toastmaster, a lot of people have heard about it through me. So each one of us has the potential to spread the word to other people. But we need to be braver somehow to invite people to our meetings. We always say we're the best kept secret, but we are the keeper of the secrets. You know, there's nobody except us. And so often we wish that Toastmasters would be more sophisticated and have fancy apps or fancy interactive websites like we see everywhere else. The reality is we are constrained by a number of members because that defines how much income comes in. So if we want to have a more sophisticated organization, we have to be the change agents. We have to be the ones inviting our neighbor, our family member, a friend to come to our meetings. So it's up to each and every one of us. It's not up to, yes, Toastmasters International can put out advertising for sure, but we are the most potent advertising material is our success story. So if each one of us can just speak to one person a month and another one the next month, even that would have an exponential growth.
In the journey of a club's growth and adding new members, who or what do you think is the biggest hurdle?
I think there's that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. For a club, it's the same. It's an extreme team effort. It's not one person. It's so many moving parts all at once. And I think we need to help one another. And the one thing I've learned in Toastmasters is that if you need help, you just have to ask. And sometimes when I was a division director and I needed help in the division to take on a certain task, I put a message out to everybody in the division. And it was amazing to see the people who would step forward. Often they weren't people who had been members for very long, but they were committed, they were passionate, and they were talented. And they were the change agents. So I think we've got to get better at supporting one another. And a club is like a child. You need so much input from so many people to nurture that child over a period of time. You can't just say, go play and grow up. You've got to be part of that growth. You've got to be part of the input, part of shaping that future. And I think if all of us in our district, and I'm sure you've got something similar in yours, we had a club ambassador program where if you visited clubs other than your own, then you get acknowledgement and help one another. I think that cross-pollination of ideas and support is so vital, because then if a club is struggling, you can take all those Toastmasters who love visiting other clubs and say, won't you go and visit that club? Won't you add value to their meeting by being a speaker or an evaluator? And in that way, we support one another. And that, I think, is the best way to get clubs and membership to grow.
Thank you so much, Adi Aleta. I think that's all from, that's all the questions I have and all from the chat. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and for enriching our session. It's been an honor indeed. And on behalf of District 105, I would like to thank you for being with us today. And with that, I would like to hand over to our fantastico MC, DTM Naina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rania. And thank you, Aleta. Before we culminate the session with vote of thanks, let me just go back and thank the lovely audience for participating so well and giving all those interesting and difficult questions to our director this evening. Can we just have a round of applause for all our audience today?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, one more question, one more reaction to be used from the audience, okay? Now listen to this question carefully. If you're a Toastmaster for more than, from the year 1 year to 3 years, yeah, 1 year to 3 years, use your heart button in reaction. Heart button, 1 year to 3 years. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm sure Zoom Masters captured that moment.
Well, no, not it. Wait a minute.
Okay. Okay, shall I request you to do it again, please? From 1 year to 3 years.
Yeah. Me too. I will put mine too.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful audience, I must say. Rania, you're so lucky. I mean, we are so lucky. All right. Now, let's bring on the party button. Yeah, party button like this one. Like on, I mean, here. The party button for more than 3 years. 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years. Okay, okay. And now the final one, the thumbs up button for more than 5 years. the thumbs up button for more than 5 years. Myself also.
More than 5 years supposed to be an art.
Now, for all those students, I would say, for all those learners who are from 1 year to 3 years, going back to my same question, yeah, the bamboo shoot story. You wait for 3 to 4 years and understand, oh, nothing is happening. Why did I join this Toastmasters? Now, my dear friends, all those people with this blue background, other than our Zoom master, are more than 5 years. So it gives you in a capsule like why we are here. I think that is enough to take away with that bamboo story. Now, let me introduce the person who's going to do the vote of thanks. So he has a special, he has a special place in my heart, I must say. He's got that, the touch moment. Also, I know him as a Toastmaster only, through Toastmasters. So one of the reasons why Toastmaster is my favorite is also because of Samir GP, I must say. So he's a founder of Awesome Walker. He has himself as an awesome planner. If you don't know about this, please visit his website and check it out. He is also author of Turning Point and Awesome Cup. He is in CGD Club Quality Team Chair, our adorable and favorite Samir GP for vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Nana, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. And now, if all of you over here, if you have had an amazing, amazing time over here with DTM Aleta, then what I would request you to do is switch on your smile, switch on your cameras, and switch off your audio. We're coming to the end, so switch on your cameras and let Aleta see all those smiling faces if you've really enjoyed and had a great time in today's session. All right, great to see all of your faces. Yes. Now, my question to all of you is this. If you have read a book or watched a movie the second or third time and found new insights, raise your hand. When you watched it the second, third, or fourth time, you had new insights, right? And this is what I'm going to share over here. There was a moment when past international president Mohammad Murad told me something. He said, when you stand up on stage and you're delivering, make it not about you, but about others, and you will see its impact. And today, I saw that in Aleta when she presented. It was not about her, it was not about anything about her, but the wisdom that she wanted to share, the clarity with which she came. I don't know if any of you noticed the fact that she did not even once ask Rania to repeat a question, which shows how clearly she was listening and how mindful she was, completely present in this moment. Her answers reflected the clarity with which she thinks. It displayed humility and candor and experience. So I invite you to use those hands and put them together for later. I'd request Ron, the Zoom master, to assist me with the certificates so that we can acknowledge everyone who made today's session a wonderful one. Firstly, DTM Aleta, all the way from South Africa. We are humbled and so happy that you have joined us to share your valuable experience and your time with us. You've learned a lot, and I personally have been enriched by your generosity. Thank you. Next, Don, the man who has the efficacy of using Zoom to the hilt. He shows us new ways of mastering a tool that can actually make us stand out. Don, the way that you started the whole session put the mood at a very high level. And for that, I thank you on behalf of District 105 from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Now, in Hindi, there is a slang which says giving somebody the bamboo, which means giving somebody a beating. But today, what Naina gave us was the lucky bamboo. The lucky bamboo is given as a Chinese good luck charm, which gives us good luck, prosperity in life. To start off that story and to end it with the bamboo story and to connect and weave everything together and to be such a delightful, smiling MC. Smashing that, Naina. Thank you so much. Ramaswamy, this gentleman, you see him on screen, but he's everywhere. You just see him just managing this, but he's managing so much. He's here, he's on WhatsApp, he's on YouTube, he's doing a whole lot of things. He is a magician. His name is Ramaswamy. Thank you, Ramaswamy, for doing what you do. Next, we have...
Thank you, Sami.
You're welcome. Next, we have Toastmaster Jinesh. Now, there are people who could not attend or who are not here. You see 39 people over here. We crossed 50 in the Zoom meeting. But also, there are a lot of people who are watching this event live on YouTube. For that, thank you, Toastmaster Jinesh, for facilitating that. DTM Zara, for making sure that we are professional, we are timed, and we make sure that everyone goes back to their families on time. Just like what Aleta said, in a jiffy, you can be back home, no matter where you are, and that is thanks to you. Toastmaster Arnold, for all the wonderful, masterful design and everything that you do and make us look so good. Thank you, Toastmaster Arnold. And Toastmaster Alexander. This man is a one-man PR army. He makes sure that the message of what we do in District 105 is not just within District 105, but across the world. And last, but not the least, what I want to do is, when you see this, there is one audio clip that I'm going to play over here. And this is not a tribute just to me, but for each one of you to listen. This is by Snoop Dogg. He gave it at an award ceremony, and I want you to listen to it.
Is this specially for Samir?
Listen to it, and then you will know what I mean.
I want to thank me. I want to thank me for believing in me. I want to thank me for doing all this hard work. I want to thank me for having no days off. I want to thank me for never quitting. I want to thank me for always being a giver and trying to give more than I receive. I want to thank me for trying to do more right than wrong. I want to thank me for just being me at all times. Snoop Dogg, you a bad.
Now, this is not just about me, but this is about every member out here who got to celebrate yourself. DTM Aleta, she mentioned that if you have to sell Toastmasters to the outside world, you have to sell it and you have to believe in it yourself first. So to believe in your journey, to believe in yourself, to believe in the Toastmaster program, everything starts from you, from each one of us. And first, when we celebrate ourselves and when we thank ourselves, our journey becomes so much more interesting, exciting. I want to thank all the audience members who is here, and I want to thank Rania for hosting and making sure that the growth series that we started off at the beginning of the term continues to enrich and enlighten, educate and inform and inspire and do all those things by bringing in world-class leaders like DTM Aleta and all the many others that we have brought and the many we are going to bring ahead. This brings me to the end of my vote of thanks, but not to the end of the gratitude that I have for all of you. So thank you so much. You've been a wonderful audience. And what I would like to do is I would now love to hand it back over to the amazing, amazing, amazing MC for the evening so that she is going to close, or I would invite Rania to close. All right, I would invite DTM Rania to make the closing address so that we can sign up for the evening. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Samir. And I would like to thank everyone, actually my wonderful Club Growth team, for all the effort, everyone who's been behind this amazing event and all of the previous events. And again, special gratitude to you, DTM Aleta. I know how busy your schedule is, and for your patience and your wisdom and your humbleness. And you always, I've listened to you in so many occasions, and every time you inspire me in so many ways, and I learn a lot from you. And it's indeed our honor that you are our international director, and looking forward to meeting you soon in person after all this chaos is over. But let's look at the positive side. I mean, had it not been for this pandemic, we couldn't have joined from all over the place. We had people from all over the globe, because of this pandemic. So let's always look at the brighter side of the the fence and always be optimistic and care for each other and care about ourselves, like I always say. And we have our goals to achieve, but again, we have also our families, ourselves. We have our members to care for, because after all, it's all about our members, caring for them. In the end, the magic always starts and ends in the clubs. So once we take care of that and we think of our members, everything else will fall in place. That's my own belief, for my own personal humble experience, and I'm sure most of our senior members will agree with that. So again, thank you so much for your valuable time and for your presence. For those who couldn't join us, it's already live on the YouTube channel, District 105. You can always review it later on. And without further ado, I would like to call this meeting to over, and have a good night, good afternoon, good day, wherever your case might be in your side. Thank you so much, and meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Stopping the recording.
Yes.